When I was in southern Western Australia last, I saw a lot of parrots that had Psittacine beak and feather disease, from Australian ringnecks to little corellas, with feather loss and feather discoloration. And doing some research, I've learnt that this disease is the worst thing that's happening to Australian parrots right now. But what is it and how is it happening? And not just that, this is the main cause of death in parrots in the wild and in captivity in Australia. Just a heads up, this video is on a serious topic, so there won't be as many jokes and there will be some graphic and shocking images of parrots. You have been warned. Hello, I'm Will Ladd, and now let's get into the video. Psittacine beak and feather disease, or PBFD for short, is a viral disease, which is a virus that attracts to living cells of an organism, slowly taking the host's immune system down. This affects all different types of parrots from around the world, from every continent, and it is found in Australasia, Asia, Africa, North America, and Europe. This is a spreadable disease passing from parrot to parrot, but unfortunately there is no effective cure or proper treatment for this disease yet, besides isolation for their own immune body system to fight back. And PBFD is the most common and highly infectious viral disease among parrots in Australia, and is the main death of Australian parrots in the wild. And not just that, pet parrots in captivity can also get this disease. So what does it actually do? It is known to affect the parrot physically and mentally, and there are a lot of symptoms that slowly cause the parrot to get more and more vulnerable and weaker. Most parrots with PBFD won't die from that alone, but a secondary infection will unfortunately wipe out the parrot. This starts with cracking and peeling of the outer layers of the claws and the beak's inner tissues. Then they start to morph, which makes it hard for the bird to do everyday tasks from eating, calling out, cracking nuts, and even social cues. And it can also affect the claws quite bad, making it hard for the bird to stand up and grab onto tree branches and ledges. It also gives the parrot's beak a crumbled and overgrown look, making the beak form unnormal ways. It also affects the feathers too. It is known to attack the feather follicles, causing malformation and necrosis, which is death to premature cells in the living tissue. Some of the feather stages include discoloration, changing the colors of the feathers, abnormal formation, so when the bird is growing new feathers, it's not growing the strongest and healthiest feathers it could. And then lastly, feather loss, which just speaks for itself, once again lowering the parrot's survival rate. And then next, attacking the skin, getting a more moist and sickening skin, making them more scaly, which can lead them to weaker self-temperature control, affecting their thymus, liver, spleen, and even bone marrow. It can also affect their internal organs, causing immune system failure. But the list of negative things still goes on. This includes weight loss, diarrhea, regurgitation, physical weakness, oversleeping, depression, poor appetite, and even sudden death for parrots under 6 months old. But adult parrots that get PBFD, they can live years after their infection. It's ultimately up to the parrot's immune system to fight it off. Now, PBFD isn't a new thing, and we're going to look a bit at the history of it. Just like the ultrasound scanner, electric drills, Google Maps, PBFD also originates from Australia. Some of the first believed observations of PB come from 1888 by ornithologist Edward Ashby, who was observing a flock of completely featherless red-rumped parrots in the Adelaide Hills, South Australia. And then in the area a few months later, the whole flock disappeared. Another believed record was once again in South Australia in 1907, with another flock of red-rumped parrots having a case of feather loss syndrome. But it wasn't until the 1970s that proper scientific research was done on the topic, with the first chronic case of PBFD was reported on in a control and therapy article in 1972 by Ross Perry for the University of Sydney, who wrote in exact detail about the critical effects on the parrots, with how it'll affect all parrots from the red-rumped and cockatoos, even saying beak rot in the cockatoo, not to be mistaken with brain rot in the cockatoo. And in his article he named the disease Psittacine Beak and Feather Disease Syndrome, PBFDS, and later renamed to Psittacine Beak and Feather Disease, PBFD. And now it has been recorded that this disease affects 38 out of 50 Australian native parrots, with the main birds being affected being the sulphur crest, little corella, galah and red-rumped parrots, and also lorikeets. And the destruction it does to each parrot species varies between every species. And this can be a horrible thing, because with some critically endangered parrots like the swift parrot and our favourite parrot on the channel, the orange-bellied parrot, we don't fully know what PBFD does, and we don't want to learn either, because if one of these parrots gets this disease in the wild, they can spread it and they could actually wipe out the whole species of parrot just like that. As we've already learnt, PB is a highly contagious and spreadable disease. It spreads by the air, tree hollows, fences, bird bath, bird feeders, waterways and food. And the easiest way it spreads is direct contact from parrot to parrot. An example of this is a large flock of parrots travelling together. Let's say it's a flock of galahs. They travel in a flock of 500 to 1,000. Only one bird needs to get PB and spread it around. And unfortunately, what I think the worst way it spreads is by vertical transmission, which means an infected bird can pass on the disease onto their offspring. And then the parrot's going to be born with PB, and these birds don't even make it to 6 months of age. And to tell you how bad that is, a sulphur crest cockatoo are known to live up to 20 to 40 years in the wild. But there are ways for humans to stop the spread, and that's with bird baths and feeders. So if you have one of these in your backyard, it's important to clean them regularly to stop diseases and bacteria building up. But if you see or think there's a parrot with PBFD in your area, fully close the operation of the bird feeder or bird bath to ensure that you're not feeding or providing other parrots with infected food and water. But if you live in Australia and you want Australian native birds to come into your backyard, the best way isn't to have a bird bath or a bird feeder, but instead have Australian native plants and trees that the species of birds in your area eat. That is the best and safest way for these birds to come into your backyard. It is also recommended, if you find a parrot with the disease, to take them to your local vet or wildlife centre, and they'll be able to put the parrot into quarantine and stop them from transmitting to other parrots. But you should only transmit the bird if you have a safe transport box or someone is capable of handling the parrot. And if your pet parrot accidentally gets the disease from outside parrots, it's also very important to take them to the vet ASAP. And you should quarantine them for at least 2 months, and also be there for your pet supportively. Make sure they have a clean place to isolate to, and be there for them mentally. Because just like humans, when your body is physically weak, your mental health becomes weak too. Thank you so much for watching the YouTube video, and now I hope you learnt something about Psittacine beak and feather disease. I'm sorry that this video took ages to make. I have been traveling in Japan and the Philippines, so if you want to see posts about them and my wildlife photos, make sure to check out my Instagram @WillTheLad, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy these videos. And if you want to watch my next video, you have to subscribe and ring the bell notification. The reason why is I actually don't know when I'll upload next, but I will try to upload as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe and comment, and goodbye.